Hi, my name's Lindy Cowling. Welcome to my channel. My website is www.lindycowling.co.uk. Email is info@lindycowling.co.uk. And the way to contact me is via email. So I am guessing that many of you have been having and are having quite an intense time of it due to the sheer nature of the energies that we are now encountering and that we are now transforming, that we are now living through, but also the added ingredients of, the moon, the eclipse, the comet, and then another eclipse coming later in the month, just to crank those things up a little bit more. For me personally, massively intense actually. Fortunately, before my logical mind even knew that there were going to be any eclipse or any moon, activity in terms of full moon or anything this month, I had factored in a couple of days off. Instinctively, intuitively, and now I know why, because it's certainly been intense, to say the least. So if you are going through that, as I said before, you're just going to have to roll with it really and factor in more time really to take notice of what's going on for you, and to get the rest, and to notice how your mind is feeling, how your body is feeling, and to take notice of that accordingly. Also how your pain body, how your emotions are feeling. So today, really, in order to help that, the title of this video is Alchemising the Soul, February 2017 Attunement. Alchemising the Soul, February 2017 Attunement. For some people watching this, today is Valentine's Day. For some of you that are ahead of me, like in Australia and New Zealand, Valentine's Day will be over by the time this comes out. But for many, Valentine's Day would have just begun. I didn't plan to bring a video out today. I didn't even know I was bringing one out until about 20 minutes ago. And then I felt actually like I'd like to do this today. So for those of you that it is still Valentine's for, think of this as my little Valentine's gift to you. And for those that it has already passed, think of it as a late Valentine's gift for you. So in some ways, this is a companion to recent videos I brought out about attuning and actualizing to your optimal timeline. It's a one that's a companion to the ones I brought out about creating your optimal outcome, and it kind of goes hand in hand with those. It's a little bit more detailed and there are slight differences, and you'll see why. What I'm probably going to do is to probably put this into like two parts really, and have one part that's the actual attunement bit, and then you can either zoom forward to that and just do that bit, and one part that's the actual talking about it. So that's how I did the other ones. That seemed to work quite well and be quite effective. So for most people, in order to transform something or transcend something or recover from something or look differently at something or think differently about something or feel differently about something, heal from something, most people, it's just human nature really. Most people need to revisit in some kind of way the past. Now, some of us do that way too much really, and I'm definitely one of those people where you can get caught in the emotions or thoughts of the past and then keep going round and round that cycle, which ends up to be a cycle of suffering, that many people get stuck in. But it's just really, as human nature, often to, in order to heal something, is to go back to the beginning of where, it's like when, if you get a splinter, and to go back, well, where did you get the splinter from, and before you remove the splinter, and take out what I called in the former videos, the originating point before it got to the crunch point. Now, I did cover some of this in previous videos, 4 or 5 videos back, but there's a different spin on it now, and I'm doing it on a different kind of level, really. So, because most people need to revisit the past, or want to revisit the past, not always need to, but want to, and have this urge to revisit the past, I thought it would be a great way of helping people release the past in order for them to create from the now the future, which is also the now. So in order to release the past, there are various things we can do. We can make the past into a color. We can resonate the past for us personally with a word, and we can transform and transmute and effectively alchemize that experience, the soul, so that we start from a different base level point to create our optimal now, which is our future as well, in a clear kind of energy point, what we would call point zero, without, because point zero, like I defined in that video, New Energy Defined, is squeaky clean, pure creation consciousness with nothing on it, zero on it, no karma, no baggage, no nothing, no past on it, no nothing. It's just pure consciousness now, infinite consciousness now. And in order to get to that point, to help the people, many people that are struggling getting to that point, or don't think they're going to get to that point, or don't understand what that point is, we have to not take the crap from the past with us, because we can't even get to that point of consciousness with that there. So I thought I would take us through in a minute the whole attunement and give you examples of that, how to do it, to rewrite the past. Now, before I go any further on that, let me explain what I mean. It wasn't that many years ago, in fact only a few years ago, where we didn't use language like rewrite the past, and we would say things like, you can't change the past, but you can change the way it affects you. And now we know that actually, in many ways, you can change the past, because we now know the past isn't the past, but the past, present, and future are all happening simultaneously now. And so you can zip in and out of past, present, and so-called future in this now moment to make alterations. So it's an extraordinary thing. It's like a rewrite. So it's like one step further. And even if you're watching this and you're very skeptical about that, what's the worst that can happen here? Like I've said before, it is changing sometimes very challenging events and obstacles that may have happened to you, or you may have been part of, and transforming them by process of alchemy to help your body chemistry, to help your cells, to help your energy in this moment now, so that you're not stuck in what went then, and that you're in this pure creation state now to affect now, and also effectively what's coming, which is also now, but what is your future. So it's more than positive thinking. Of course, it's along those lines, it's along manifestation, it's all creation, but it's more than that. And what I'm going to do with you, if you want to go along with this attunement, is to help you change by an alchemical process, the energetic component, the consciousness component, the mental component, the emotional component, to get you to the neutral point, a point of neutralization, neutralizing the past to actualize the future in the now, So that's neutralizing the past, actualize the future in the now. Get you to a neutral point, point zero, pure consciousness, in order to, by a process of alchemy in the soul, create and actualize in this moment what circumstances you do want. And again, I'm going to reiterate here that those circumstances that you do want cannot be created without feeling the emotion of what you do want. And you have to feel the emotion as if it is already happened, already happening, and feel all the excitement and happiness and childlike joy and exuberance of that now. And you can't kid yourself into this. You can't say, oh, right, I'm going to make myself try and feel it, even though I know it's not really here. You'll get to a state by actual practice, actually. By practicing it, actually, you rework the neural pathways to the mind, but it's also, on another level, you're reworking the energy, and you're getting into that habit of it, where, again, you'll change your body chemistry, your cellular structure, and you will be able to, by a process of alchemy, transform your reality by feeling as if that reality were already a reality. And again, I'm going to say, for anyone skeptical watching this, well, what's the worst that can happen then? You can feel a darn sight better. You can change, like I say, your body chemistry, your cellular structure, your outlook, your perception. You're going to feel a lot better in whatever circumstances you start from, but it's so much more than that and has so much more great potential than that. So I'm going to, another thing I'm going to say also is, when I was saying about the habit and how our thought process can be a habit, another thing that came to me before I came on here is how many times a day that we can have what I call stroppy thoughts. Stroppy thoughts, the definition of stroppy thoughts being feeling angry about things, feeling pissed off about things, feeling sad about things, in mental pain, emotional pain, spiritual pain, physical pain, wanting things to be different, wanting this, wanting that, responding to world things, la-li-da-li-da. So how many times, this would be a great practice for you to get into as well, how many times a day do you have stroppy thoughts as opposed to floppy thoughts? That's another card sticker, bumper sticker. How many times a day do you have stroppy thoughts opposed to floppy thoughts? So if you catch yourself with a stroppy thought, and for some of you it may be thousands of times a day, so you've got to get into the habit of reworking this because it's going to change your body chemistry as well. Every time you catch yourself going down the route of a stroppy thought is like really intense worry, really intense anxiety, like really getting caught up in the emotion of stuff to do with you or your family or your friends or the world or whatever. Every time you find yourself going down that road, stop yourself, just stop yourself and replace it with a floppy thought. So stroppy thought, rigid, controlling, firm, worried, contracting energy. Floppy thought, expansive, floppy, soft, gentle. So a floppy thought, so whatever the thought is, you just make it much, much more gentle, much more relaxed, a much softer expression of it, or something completely different to that. So, and straight away you'll know it's helping, because you will feel, the more times you do this, you will feel an actual change to your energetic state, your chemical state, your soul state, your spiritual state, the whole lot, the whole works, one and the same, because you will feel basically more relaxed. You will feel more relaxed, you will feel less stressed, less anxious, because you've started that process. And it is one part of the process, because we cannot look, I mean, I always start at the top and work my way down. When I say start at the top, I always start at the essence, us as consciousness, as essence, coming down into the vehicle of soul, having our experiences on earth, you know, in human form. But you cannot, there is no part of the equation we can leave out anymore. You cannot, you can't just focus on that area of it and not be anchored in living human form. It has to be a working living model, a working living example of it. We have to be. That is what mastery is. It's not an abstract concept outside of you. It is an inner state of your perception, your consciousness and awareness. And so it has to be across the board, not in little bits and chunks. And sometimes we get to that stage by little bits and chunks, and then the whole picture comes together, the whole puzzle comes together. But it's the whole lot. So we can't leave out the very parts of us that make us, you know, very human, you know, because by leaving those parts out, we're leaving out the part of the process into becoming conscious. And that was one of the videos I brought out early this year. This is the year of becoming conscious. You are becoming conscious creators, or we are becoming conscious creators. We are becoming conscious of our perception, or conscious of our consciousness, conscious of our reality, conscious of the reality that we wish to be part of, both personally, both within family, both within friendships, also within the whole global perspective, the world that we wish to live in. I mean, all this, one thing knocks onto another, but it has to start with you. It has to start with us. We have to, because we are totally able to do this, we have to change our perception of reality, neutralize the past and actualize the future in the now, which is all now, in order to alchemize our experience in the world at this moment in time, to not only change our current timelines, but also to change the global timelines. And this is what I've kind of touched on before. So there are a number of things here. Number one, again, I'm going to go over stroppy thoughts, which makes me smile every time I say it, because it's a bit childish, isn't it? But the childish way of approaching this is the one that nails it every time. It's like, you know, you just have to laugh about it, really. There's so much to get caught up with and get serious about in this world. And, you know, I mean, straight away it's going to change your body chemistry if you can just, you know, laugh a bit about things and, you know, take a chill pill. Not really take a pill. I mean, mentally take a chill pill. And laugh about things and just kind of relax about them a bit, because you being rigid and stroppy thoughts is not going to be a reed that bends in the wind. It's going to be a reed that goes crack and snaps. So you're going to have to go with it. You're going to have to get your stroppy thoughts into floppy thoughts, floppy, less traumatic, less anxious, less stressed, that kind of thing. And most people want to actually revisit, or they for some people this is very true, but for others it's also caught up with the belief systems of the past, and in order to free themselves from the past they need to have an understanding, or at least some kind of model of how to let that go. I mean, certainly I do, and certainly most, I would say nearly all people that I know, especially if there's been a lot of bumps and obstacles there, need to have some kind of working model in order to shift that energy mentally, emotionally, you know, spiritually, and in the soul, all one and the same, you know, all of one and the same. But it's a number of different, it's a number of different things. You know, we can't leave out any aspects of it. Like I say, it's the picture, the unified picture as a whole, not one aspect of it and not the other. So they're like baby stepping stones, these videos, and some people are going to resonate with certain videos. It's like you know, picking food off a picnic blanket. You know, some will want to try a little bit of this, some will try a little bit of that, some don't want to try certain things. Some are ready for something and others are ready for something else. Everybody's different, but if you are at a point where you really find that this will be helpful, then that's great. So I think we'll get on to the attuning part of it now. I think that's what we'll do now. We'll get on to the attunement part of it. For part of this is a kind of relaxed, like visualization. It's also very kinesthetic, which is to do with your feelings, because the feelings and the emotions are everything. Not only the emotions are what is huge in our human experience, but they are actually, well, they're part of who we are and how we express and how we love and how we feel and how we experience through polarization, how we experience through unification. It's all part and parcel of it, and the feelings are what can keep us trapped in place, but the feelings are also what can create us out of a certain space into standing into our own mastery. And all these are stepping stones to your own mastery. Nobody, regardless of what they think or they say, leaps from step 1 to step 20 in their own mastery overnight. Even if they've got a broom up their arse and they think so. I mean, I don't know anyone personally or in the media or on YouTube or anything that has gone from step 1 to 20 overnight, even if they've convinced themselves that they have. They may find that they hit a point when they have to go back then from 20 and retrace their steps. They have to go retrograde, because no one can make that leap. You know, to a certain degree, I've had to backtrack a bit because I missed out a lot of the facing the emotions of my past, which is why, you know, I think this will help a lot of people as well. And I bypass doing the inner child thing. That's why way back on YouTube I brought one out about the inner child. I had to kind of retrace my steps. There's no parts of the puzzle you can miss out. You can think you can run to the top of the mountain, but you're going to have to go back halfway down for your equipment, your soul equipment, your spiritual equipment. You know, I see it over and over again. I see it over and over again in the public eye. I see it over and over again on YouTube. And there comes a point, the crunch point, you know, when I talk about the originating point and the crunch point, we all hit it, and you have to put your hands up and say, oops, you know, I've hit that point. I'm going to have to go retrograde a little bit now to go back a little bit to go forward. You know, it's like a train turning and going down a route that leads to the buffers, and then it has to back up a bit and then go that way. It's part of the experience. It's part of being in this human experience. It's part of learning who you are. It's part of your mastery. So, you know, they are all different little pieces of the overall puzzle. And so all this contributes to really a balanced state of creation, what we call that 0 point state, where you can, by the power of your own emotional beliefs, your own emotional input, positive emotional beliefs, positive emotional input, create as if it by reacting as if it was already a reality, what you want to experience personally and globally on this planet. And it is vital. It's actually vital, because many people at this point of time are very worried about what's going on the planet. I'm not one of them. I'm not the least bit worried about what's going on the planet, because I've already been knowing for 21 years what point we were coming to now. Most of us felt that point would be around 2012, 2013. It's just come a few years later. So for me, I'm very excited. It's like, yay, at last. Everyone's waking up. There's loads of things going on, catalyst things to make sure that happens. So I feel very excited. I don't feel afraid at all about global events. I'm very excited about them, because I know it's all going the way it needs to go to get that optimal outcome. But many people are very afraid of what's happening now, and they're caught up in that fear, you know. So and that polarization. So like I say, there's a lot of that going on, and of course if you're very sensitive and empathic and everything else, you're going to be feeling that as well, which again, you know, is, if you're very, very sensitive, and if you are part of a primary template, again, a new template for humanity, if you're wired into that in any way whatsoever, which many people are, twin flame union being one of them, then that intensity is even more cranked up. And so, you know, it's vitally important at this time, again, I'm going to say, that if you have to step back, take a little bit of time out, have a rest, process this, recognize the, let's call them negative emotions, but I don't mean that in a negative way, but if process emotions that were stored somewhere in your mind or body and you need assistance with that from people, or if it's to do with creating in the now and creating what you want, this is the optimal time to do it. Everything's there in place for us to do this. I mean, never more so than now, really. And unfortunately, if you are at a point where you are able to do this and you avoid this, it is more than uncomfortable. It's extremely uncomfortable. Because 0 point of consciousness, you cannot have, you don't get to that state of consciousness with any crap on it, because it's a neutral, pure state of consciousness that you create from. It hasn't got any karma on it. It hasn't got that playoff on it. It is that pure state of consciousness, and you cannot get there if you are in a belief system that is restricting you from arriving from there, or caught up in the past, which is restricting you from arriving from there, or caught up in your energy, which is restricting you from arriving there. Anything that's contracting your energy is not going to get you to 0 points. And like I say, millions will hit 0 points, millions and millions, and 0 point will become normal across the board as time goes on. There are also some that will never hit 0 point because they don't want to, they're not going to go there, and on a soul level they decided they never wanted to go there. But the opportunity is there for everybody. So on that note, just to summarise then, cut yourself some slack in this extraordinary time of intensity. Although it may seem scary to a lot of people, actually it's not the beginning of the end, it's the end of the beginning of our optimal state of consciousness, entering our true blueprints, our multidimensional blueprints. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you look at it, that always involves change, and we are so resistant as human beings to change. We have almost like a mental and emotional block to change. Most people will avoid change like the plague, and so that's why we find it so challenging. And every single day, if you have fearful thoughts in your life or about the world, let's nickname them stroppy thoughts, because straight away that sounds quite funny. What it does to me anyway. And make them floppy thoughts. So not stroppy, but floppy thoughts. Rework them. And so even silly little things like that will help start to change your body chemistry. You can look back at any of the previous videos that talk about new energy or actualizing your timeline, anything like that. Like I say, even if you're totally skeptical watching this, it's going to help you think more positively, and it's going to make you feel a lot better, hopefully, and it's going to be helpful to that. But if you're, but it's so much more than that. It's alchemizing the soul. Right, so we are on virtually 30 minutes. Blimey, that went quick. I thought I was just going to do 10 minutes there. Okay, so I'm going to actually do the actual attunement bit now. So if you're someone that didn't want to hear me talking for the last half an hour and you just want to do the attunement bit, I will put a note under the video so that you can tune into that bit. So obviously, as again, like I said before, when I'm working this way, taking into almost like a light visualization or a light meditative state. I will have my eyes closed some of the time and will talk slightly differently because that's part of it. Please, when you are listening to this, do not listen to this when you're operating machinery or driving a vehicle or anything silly like that. This is designed for you to be sitting comfortably in your chair or maybe even laying down and relaxing a bit. This attunement is designed for that. So on that note, we'll get started at 30 minutes. Blimey, this is going to be a long video again. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do is close your eyes. If you don't want to close your eyes, you don't have to. No one's making you close your eyes, but you'll probably be able to enter into that slightly more relaxed, altered state of consciousness if you do close your eyes. So if you wish to close your eyes. And just, firstly, just be aware of your breathing. Let's take your awareness into your breathing. And just take a breath in. Breath out. And as you start to have awareness of your breathing, I'd like you to consider the idea that you as a master creator have the ability to rewrite, redesign, and redefine your past. That you can neutralize the past in order to actualize your future now. And in order to do this, we don't have to relive. You don't have to relive necessarily the traumas, the obstacles, the challenges, the horrors of your past. But you have the ability to reframe and change the energy around them. Now, what I will say at this point is every single person watching this video is different. So if in the course of this exercise it becomes clear to you that you are someone that is going to need additional support for the emotions that come up, or the feelings that come up if they're overwhelming, or the memories that come up, then of course please do so. And do so in a way that's appropriate to you. For some it will be healing, for some it will be counselling, for some it will be CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy. For others, it will be talking to someone that can help you process the emotions, the feelings, and go to a local resource or an international resource, you know, that on the internet. But go to where you are drawn to for that assistance, and everybody will be different. But as we neutralize the past, what I want you to do is to ask your mind. So this is unique to everyone. Ask your mind and ask your body, because they are in the same dance and one affects the other. Ask your mind and your body, where was the originating cause? Where was the originating cause for this mental condition, or this emotional condition, or this physical illness? All of it's linked, the mental, the emotional, and the physical, it's all linked. But where was the originating cause? And you may find you go backwards in your timeline and you find that easier. So when I say that as an example, you may find you float back in your memory to something just a few years ago and you think, aha, that's the originating cause. You will know if you're correct by your gut feeling, your intuition. You will know if that's not quite it, that's scraping the surface. That's one of your crunch points, but that it's not the originating point. So see how you feel. You'll know how much energy, how much charge that packs. So if what I'm saying is the case, go back further. So I'm going to give you an example to make this easy. So say you're someone with a physical chronic condition, a pain condition, and you float back as I'm saying this to a year 2000 and something, and you say, aha, in your mind you say, aha, that's where it started. And then listen to your intuition, your gut feeling. Is that where it started? Because so and so happened? Not sure. Now, before you go further back in your history, in your timeline, because I'm going to take you through this in baby steps, give that crunch point where you think that illness started, and I'm only using this as an example, this could be anything else, this is just an example, give it a colour. So let's for the sake of argument, give it the colour purple. Give it the colour purple and give it a word. So I'm going to make it really easy. So let's say someone with a chronic pain condition, they take it back, say, to 2010. They're feeling into it while I'm talking it through. They're seeing the colour purple and they're saying, oh, vulnerable. And that's giving them a bit of a kick. That's giving them a little bit of a, they can feel that. They can feel, actually, I think I'm right there. Or they're going, not too sure about that. Okay, so then let's track back a bit earlier. Let's track back in, keep going back. And maybe they stop again in their mind, in their memory. Perhaps they stop again at 2002 or 2003. Aha, this was another time that I was feeling vulnerable. And actually I went down really ill there with a lot of unexplained pain. Aha, I'd never linked those two before. I never realised that was an originator before. Track back and again, see if it's the colour purple. The word vulnerable, track back again. And they may find this is going to take a different amount of time. It's going to take a different amount of time for everybody. But they may find that they track back a long way back, much further than they were expecting, maybe into their teenage years or early adulthood or way back in childhood. And then they say, okay, hang on a minute. I was feeling really, really vulnerable when I was 10 years old. And then I remember I got really sick and my mum took me to the doctors and she just didn't know why I had all this pain and I wasn't getting well. And then it went on. They thought it was glandular fever and it wasn't. And I'm using this as an example. This isn't me. And then suddenly I was well again 2 months later, no explanation. Then 3 or 4 years later, blah, de, blah, de, blah. And suddenly there's an aha moment, what we call a light bulb moment, a realization. And if or when or if, because it might not be this way for you, you have an aha realization moment, suddenly all those dots will run together. They will run together from the late 2000s all the way down to early 2000, all the way down to early adulthood, teenage, childhood, if yours came from childhood. And it will all rush together, that realization and that aha moment. Now, for some people, they might only have 1 or 2 instances that add up to that vulnerable and the colour purple. For them, it might be a different word, a different colour. It might be different years in their history, in their timelines. As they're doing this process, they might get emotional with it. They might suddenly have a remembrance of something and burst into tears. And they might think, oh my God, that's when I first started feeling like this. That's when I first started feeling like that. Now, it is normal to have emotions. But if these emotions are really overpowering for you, depending on what you're revisiting here, then please get the appropriate assistance with that, whether it's from friends, family, or whether it's professional assistance from someone like, again, counselling, CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy for trauma, psychotherapy, psychology, healing, holistic therapies, energetic work, whatever you are drawn to help you process them if you feel you need help for it. Because I appreciate everyone watching this video has different life experiences. Some of them are quite easy, some of them are very traumatic, or quite, challenging, very challenging, depending on where you are and what you've experienced in your life, in your soul. So now we've identified and connected up the dots of, aha, this is where it comes from. This is where I feel it comes from. And don't worry if you can't quite feel where it comes from and you're getting little aspects of this. With a little bit of, let's say, if you're drawn to do it this way, not everyone will be drawn to do this, but if you're drawn to do it this way, it will, with a little bit of practice, so to speak, doing this a few times. You could do it for 10 minutes every day or a few times a week. You may find all the pieces come together if it resonates for you doing it this way. Once you have identified the word that contributes to where you are mentally now, or physically now, or financially now, practically now, in relationship now, however it is playing out for you, or all those ways, and the colour with it, we then need to change, rewrite the word and rewrite the actual chemistry behind it and the colour. So I'm going to give you a simple example again. Lady with a chronic pain condition knows what the crunch point was, a real big crunch point, 2010. She works her way backwards in history, in the timeline, and she realises it all began way beyond before then. It actually began in her childhood, but actually there were some really significant crunch points along the way, some really big crunch points where she could have gone left or gone right, and that could have been transformed by an alchemical process then, but she went right instead of left because she didn't know. It wasn't a mistake, but she didn't know. So by tracking back in this way, she will feel emotions coming up with that. And to transform some of what's coming up, or you have to realise and recognise those emotions, but to transform the word and the colour, in this example, she can change the word to, instead of vulnerable, the first word that comes to her mind is formidable. If you think about the word formidable, that is really powerful. That is standing in one's power. That is like really strong, powerful. So she just revisits, and she doesn't have to hash over all the details. Some people may have to go into it more than others. It depends what's in there. Others, they can just skim over the surface. She feels emotion with it. She can feel what's coming up. Vulnerable, she can transform, rewrite to formidable. How she would have been in those circumstances as someone formidable. As someone formidable. Then she can take it forward to those other crunch points, other memories that she just had. Wow, I was in this circumstance at that time formidable, and therefore I rewrote how it affected me in energy, chemically, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and in soul. Then she tracks it forward again, right the way up. She does this till she hits the most recent crunch point. Or she hits, maybe now is the crunch point, and she's still suffering from that chronic pain condition. So then she will look at exactly what is happening now and transform the colour purple and the word vulnerable to formidable and to gold. Your colour may not be gold and your colour may not be formidable. Your word may not be formidable. Your word may be something very different to that. But if you are drawn to the colour gold, it's interesting because gold is the most amazing, powerful alchemical process and colour. It is, if you are drawn to gold in this bit and you're not sort of, if I say that and you're like, oh, you're kind of like pulling back from the gold, that's fine, take notice of that. Then it will be another colour for you to actualise the now and the future part, if you like, of this attunement. But if you do resonate with gold, then stay with me. If it's another colour, it's another colour. So what you're doing is you're rewriting, you're tweaking, and you're changing all the events of your timeline, your past, by putting a different word in so that you feel differently in those circumstances. You feel differently in that situation. You are almost like parenting yourself in that situation. And you are rewriting you on every level, chemically, emotionally, spiritually, in soul, in energy. How it affects your body and how that has become a mental illness or emotional illness, all linked, physical illness, all linked, or you just being stuck. You know, it may not come out in the form of illness, you know, at a point that you don't want to be stuck at. I'm going to give you an example here. This is a real true example. And this true example is an example of mine. When I was doing this attunement the other day, and I like to go through things first before I share them, I had an amazing realization, which you couldn't even make up. And I tracked back to something when I was 5 years old. I tracked back just the way we've done it here now. I went from most recent, and I stopped halfway, and I still felt, no, that's not enough. And I ended up back and when I was aged 5. Actually, I knew it was lower than 5, but I knew the main crunch point was age 5. And this, as God is my witness, this is a true this is true memory here. That age 5, I remember cradling, this is a real memory, my own mother's head in my lap after she had been beaten up by my father then. And I was stroking her hair and I was telling her it was all going to be all right. I was either 4.5 or 5. And I have clear recollection that I was already thinking and feeling like an adult, that I had the perception of an adult. And in that moment, tracking this back in my timeline, I realised I had already done this before, and that in that moment of Lindy, aged 4.5 or 5, I had, as Lindy now, already come back and visited Lindy then, so that she had the strength and the resilience, and therefore almost like the capability in a way, because I did not have the emotional or mental capability as a 4.5 or 5-year-old, to have the knowing that she had the wisdom in a way of an adult, the energy of the adult Lindy. And it was something that I've always remembered. This wasn't, but I have never realised till last week that I'd actually done that before. It was an extraordinary moment, absolutely extraordinary, a quite moving moment actually. And then I realised why. I could never figure out all my life, how could I know I was already an adult, and now I know how I knew, because I'd already been back now as me then, in the now, but then. It's extraordinary. So it's very powerful. So just to recap, as you track back through that timeline, you are experiencing it as a colour, the colour that resonates for you, the word that resonates for you. If you do this exercise a few times, attunement a few times, you may find that that colour and the word changes. That's absolutely fine. Find your originating point, where it came from. And sometimes it might take you a few times to do that. You might think, oh, I think it's here, but I don't really feel any energy with that. I'm not quite sure. When you have that aha moment, yeah, that's what it was. And if emotion comes up, allow the emotion to come up, and if it's overwhelmed, please get assistance. Don't feel you've got to cope with it on your own. The colour, the word that goes with it, you transform it. Once you've connected up those dots, you transform it. You give it a different colour and a different word, the word that is the most transformative for all that. So, for example, vulnerable becoming formidable. Someone very vulnerable suddenly becoming very powerful, for example, and a different colour. And then we bring all of that up to the present. Now, before I do the bit that is in the present and the now, if that chunk of it is enough for you to cope with, don't do the next bit. Don't do the next bit. That's enough for you to cope with. Deal with that first and do the next bit another time, which would be at 51 minutes in of this video. Then do the next bit. So don't force yourself to do it all at once. If loads of stuff has come up for you, and emotion and loads of stuff like that, don't go any further with this video. Come back to that another time, in a few weeks, a few months, 6 months, whatever. Don't do it now, because everybody's different. But if you do want to go on to the next bit, then you can start from this moment with, in a sense, the past already being rewritten, and it might take a while for you to rewrite that. You know, I've been doing it every day. It might take you days, weeks, months to rewrite that. And another thing I can say, another way of rewriting the past is a way of transmuting in an alchemical way. You can transmute by visualizing it with being, well, some people can do it with light. I prefer actually doing it with fire to transmute. So you can, for example, you can imagine the past, a certain event being written down, or for me, there was a certain book I read at a certain point in my teenage years, which all linked to my past and then formed into an illness, which I didn't realise till I did this. So for me, I imagined, when I backtracked, setting fire to that book. So I transmuted it, it cleansed it, and that I never read that book. Takes a while for the physical body to catch up, but that I never read the book in the first place. You know, that's another trick you can use. So let's bring it all back up into the present, into the now moment, and where you are now. And if you, like I say, if you're not ready to do the next bit, please don't do it. It might take you weeks or months to do that first half of it. But if you want to go to the next bit, starting at that, let's call it the neutral point, this 0.0 here, is you. I mean, and again, if you resonate with gold, I totally am resonate with gold 100%. It's a very high alchemical colour, but if it's not that colour for you, please don't panic. Go with a colour that you resonate with. And the words, a colour and a word that your mind and body and your energy want to build from and create from your future, which is actually now. We're going to bring it into the now. Now you may find it's the same word that we rewrote for your past, like formidable for the future. Or you might find it's a totally different word, like freedom, because it's a totally different energy to the past. So freedom and gold. And again, to actualize and your timeline, to actualize what you want, you have to feel it. And you have to feel it as if it is already happened. That it's happening now, it's already happened, it's fait accompli, not that it might happen one day, it's out of reach, it's not going to happen. It's changing your body chemistry from stroppy thoughts to floppy thoughts. Floppy, excited, childlike, exuberant thoughts of it already having happened or happening now. And it's like the yellow brick road, you know, paved with gold. Throw in all the cosmic ingredients to your cosmic cake that is going to make that baby rise, which means If it's monetary, around money, that you are feeling that you have loads of money, that actual, everything has changed around you, loads of money. If it's relationship, you have loads of money, you have the love of your life with you, alongside you. If it's a new home, it's money, the love of your life with you, a new home. There's no limitations to how many ingredients you put in, but for some of you it may be just one area of your lives, like a job. You already have the new job, you're really exciting, you get all the feelings with it. Don't complicate it with your analytical thoughts. It's all about feeling. The thoughts are not going to do it. The thoughts of anything get in the way. It's the feeling, the excited feeling of it, that changes the body chemistry, that creates creation, that is amenable to creation, that changes everything. And give the word, just to just boost it, give it a word like freedom, gold. If the excited feeling is already here, it's already happening. Health, whatever it is for you, health already happened. It's already happened. Not it's coming one day, then it might arrive, that it's already here. Bring it in, bring it around you. You can chuck any ingredients in it that you want, that are positive, that are along the feelings of that positive thing. You get the word, you get the colour, you put in your own ingredients. Because it's a process of alchemy. We are transforming on a soul level, on an energetic level, on a mental level, emotional level, soul level, spiritual level, all one and the same, one unified state. We are transforming what we thought of as has been, which is all still happening now. We are rewriting it so it has no negative impact or influence on us now, to affect us now, into drawing what we thought of as the future into the now, which is now anyway. So that you are not literally having your hands and legs tied together so that you can't reach the future you want, tied together by your own thoughts and your own past. Floppy thoughts, not stroppy thoughts. We can rewrite the energetic component of the past. We can rewrite even some of the memories of the past. We can release the memories of the past so that we can reach that, neutralization point, to actualize, neutralizing, to actualize, to being able to actualize the future. We neutralize what is holding us back from that. And as you focus on the desired outcomes, you have to focus on them as if the desired outcomes are already a reality. Now, for some of you listening to this, you may just want to use the first part of this only and work on that for a number of weeks or a number of months. Others may have already done that side of it and want to just focus on this back bit, or some will do the whole lot together. But for some it will be too much to do the whole lot together. You're all different and you're all unique. You're unique people, your unique expression of consciousness, so you have to take notice of that. So when you're ready, if you are someone that has had their eyes closed, sorry, I'm a bit uncomfortable sitting here, I've been sitting here a long time. If you are someone that has had their eyes closed for this process, just bring your awareness and your consciousness back into the room, which means opening your eyes, having a little stretch, bringing your awareness back into here. Again, like I say, this is something. It is powerful. For some people, they might only have to do this once or twice. I only had to do it twice. The past bit of it twice. I'm doing the actualizing my timeline every single day, the future part of it, every single day for about 5 minutes. Have been for weeks now. The past bit I've only had to do twice. I'm not, when I feel around that, I don't feel I have to keep going back there now, to be honest. But everybody's different, and you might, if there's a lot of stuff in there and you've never gone digging around there, or it's not really digging around there, but trying to free that up before, like I say, get the appropriate assistance if you need it. If not, and it's just emotions coming through you and recognition and a big release, again, you know, move through the process. And you may be able to do the whole lot at once, the past, and then transform the future. And you may find that once the past bit of it's done, or you don't need to do any bit of the past, you can just focus on the future bit. You can just do the future bit of the thing, in which case you can listen to the back 10 minutes of this video, or you can go to the video that says Actualising Your Optimal Timeline, which is about 4 or 5 or 6 videos back, and just focus on that bit. Anyway, I do hope that helped. This was, oh my God, that is a very long video, much longer. So where does the time go? Oh, well, there is no such thing as time, is there? It's gone on much longer than I intended. So I will list underneath the video so that people don't have to go through the whole lot if they don't want to listen to the whole lot. And if they do, they do. So on that note, I will love you and leave you. Do take care of yourselves. Thank you for listening. I hope you found the video helpful, and I will see you guys on video again soon. Take care. Bye. Bye.